Grandma, Venerables, brothers and sisters in Dharma, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor duty to invite you to the University of Hong Kong to join tonight's Dharma talk by Zen Master Thich Nhat. And tonight's topic is True Power. The Venerable monastic members have asked me to share with you and practice with you these things. Ladies and gentlemen, please bring out your mobile phones and make sure it's switched off with compassion. No flashlight photography during the talk, and please remain seated, except for those who will ask questions at the Q&A session. And now, may I invite Professor the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Hong Kong, to say a few words. Professor Lee, please.
Zen Master and our dear Thich, members of the Plum Village Center, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and a very warm welcome to the University of Hong Kong. Dear Thich, you might recall visiting this place before, respectively in the years 2001 and 2002. Your previous visit, along with your books and your teaching, have inspired a lot of people in Hong Kong. We are therefore extremely happy, extremely delighted today to see you, as we have been waiting for this for 5 long years. Dr. Venerable Cheng Ying asked me to introduce the speaker. I'm not exactly sure we need to do that, because if you don't know Thich, you don't know our Zen Master, you're probably in the wrong meeting, in the wrong place, or wrong university. But just to do my homework, in order to follow Venerable Cheng Ying's instructions, so I just say a couple words. I guess it's sufficient to say that our Zen Master, our Thich, is a rare combination of a poet, a scholar, and a peace promoter. He's 80 years old now, one of the most influential Buddhist spiritual leaders in the world. His lifelong efforts to promote truth and reconciliation moved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize in the year 1967. He was also honored in magazine's 60s of Asian Heroes last year. He has some 100 books to his credit and numerous preaching, so I guess that suffices to give a bit of an outline of a distinguished speaker. You're here to listen to him, so without further ado, would you please join me in warmly welcoming our Zen Master and Thich.
The monastics will offer a chant and evoke the name of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is the one who has the capacity to look deeply, to understand, and to become free. And the Bodhisattva is the symbol of understanding and compassion. While chanting, we practice mindfulness of breathing, and together it will generate the energy of mindfulness. And with the mindfulness power of the Bodhisattva, we can get the healing, the transformation, while just sitting and listening. If we have tension and pain within our body, we may allow the energy of the Bodhisattva to penetrate and bring relief to that tension and pain. If we have blocks of worries and anger or despair or pain within our heart, we may wish to open our heart in order to allow the energy of compassion and understanding to penetrate, and we get a relief after a few minutes. And if we have someone who is close to us, who actually suffers a lot but who cannot come tonight, we may also send this energy to him or to her by just thinking of that person, or calling him or her by his name. And the energy will be transmitted to that person right in the present moment.
And
dear guest, respected distinguished guest. From time to time, you hear the sound of the bell. You stop talking and thinking and listening and just enjoy our in-breath and out-breath. The Buddha advised us to learn how to live happily right in the present moment. And I believe, my conviction is that the most important kind of power, the most precious kind of power, is the capacity to live happily in the present moment. When you are only happy in the present moment, you don't worry anymore about the future. You are free. And to live happily in the present moment, we need to practice. Usually we have the tendency to think of the past. We either regret things concerning the past, we continue to suffer because of the past. And the past can become a prison. And those of us who are caught in the past, by the past, are not capable of living the present moment. The Buddha said that the past is already gone and the future is not yet there. Life is available only in the present moment. So to free oneself from the past is very important for one person to be able to live, to get in touch with life in the present moment. And then those of us who think too much about the future. We are afraid of the future. We worry a lot about the future. We are uncertain about the future, and we keep thinking about the future. And for those of us who have that kind of habit, the future becomes a kind of prison. And we are not capable to live in the present moment. We have an appointment with life. And that appointment is here and now. And if we miss the present moment, we miss our appointment with life. The Buddha advises us to live happily right in the present moment because we do have enough conditions to be happy right now and right here. The Sanskrit expression is Drishta Dhamma Sukha Vihara. It means living happily in the present moment. One day the business leader Anattapanika came to visit the Buddha with 500 businessmen and women. And the Buddha gave them a talk about living happily in the present moment, because the Buddha knew that business leaders have the tendency to think too much about the future, and they are not very capable of living deeply in the present moment. So in that discourse, the Buddha repeated the expression Drishta Dhamma Sukha Vihara 5 times, living happily in the present moment. A month ago, I met with 700 business men and women in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. I also told them about this discourse given by the Buddha by business to business people. I would like to tell the story of Frederick and Claudia. He was a very successful and talented businessman in Germany. And they were a bright couple. And in the beginning, they were very happy with the business. She was very proud of being the wife of the chief of the leader of the corporation, and she took a great deal of pleasure in organizing receptions and so on. But slowly the business took all the time of Frederick. His business was like a dictator who wanted to monopolize all his energy, his time. And that is why Frederick began not to have time for himself, for his wife, and for his two children. And Claudia became lonely, and she suffered. There were nights when she cried with him and she complained about that. Darling, you do not have time for yourself. You do not have the time for me and for the children. I suffer. And he always said that now it's difficult for me to find someone that can replace me to take care. I'm the only person capable of handling the corporation. Wait until I could arrange someone to help me, and then I will have plenty of time for you and for the children. But Claudia had to wait for a long time. She felt so lonely, so she signed up. She followed a course in a university to get another PhD degree on psychology, and she also became a psychotherapist, trying to help people in order to forget her loneliness. But that was not enough to help her happy. So she tried also charity works and things like that, but that did not help her either. The day when their son Phillips went to the hospital for a heart surgery, open heart surgery, he could not come home. And Claudia had to be in a hospital for 7 long hours for the operation, for the surgery. He could not come. And even when Claudia went to the hospital for a surgery of a tumor, he could not come either. And his promise was never realized, because at the age of 51, he got into a car accident and was killed. And 3 days later, they found someone to replace him. And yet, before that, he had believed that no one could replace him. During a retreat in Plum Village, France, Claudia came and told us the story. There are Fredericks who are still alive, and there will be Fredericks in the future. And they may like to learn the way of the Buddha in order to avoid the mistake made by Frederick. Anathapindika was a disciple of the Buddha. He was a businessman. he had a very wonderful heart. He cared very much for the lonely, the poor people in his country. He devoted a lot of time and money in order to help the lonely people, the poor people, the abandoned people in the city of Sravasti. The name Anattapinika was given to him by the people of his country. His real name is Sudatta. And Anattapinika means the one who help the lonely people, the poor people. Anattapinika conducted his business with a lot of compassion. He took care of his friends in the corporation. And that is why he was happy in his business. There was one time when he got bankruptcy, but he did not suffer because his friends came. He had a lot of friends who came and helped him out and rebuilt his fortune. And he had the time to go to the Buddha with his family to listen to the Dhamma talks and to put into practice the teaching of the Buddha. He was a happy businessman, and he liked to bring his fellow businessmen to the Buddha in order to receive the teaching and learn the practice. It is clear that the Buddha does not oppose the work of getting rich. But he advised us to cultivate spirituality in order not to abuse our power when we are rich, to use our power, our money in such a way that will not make ourselves suffer and the people around us suffer. In that Dhamma talk, he explained about the 3 refuges and the 5 mindfulness trainings, and he said that if people live according to the 5 trainings, and then they will not suffer as businessmen. The 5 mindfulness trainings, we used to call them 5 precepts, are the expression, the very concrete expression of true love and compassion. And if you conduct your business or your political power with compassion, you will not suffer and you will not make other people around you suffer, because you will not abuse your power, whether that power is money or a position in the government or fame. The American magazine Fortune for businessmen each year give a list of corporations that I consider to be on the top. 100 corporations that people can believe in and can invest in. And when they study about the common characteristics of these 100 corporations, they found out that these corporations functioned with a certain amount of love, of compassion. They share the same values, spiritual values. They show their respect to the environment. They take care of employees in a corporation. They take care of the children of employees. They take care of the family of the corporations. And although they spend money and time and energy in taking care of members of the corporation, they are making more profit. And that is why it's very important that we conduct our political career, our business career with compassion. If we don't, there will be abuse of power, of money. And it's very easy for all of us to misuse our power. A father has his power over his son and daughter, and we have the tendency to misuse the power of a father. And when we do so, we make our son, our daughter suffer, and we suffer ourselves. A teacher has the power of a teacher. And if the teacher does not have a spiritual dimension in his or her life, they will also abuse their power as a teacher and make the students unhappy and themselves unhappy. A policeman also has some power, and if he does not have compassion, spirituality, he also misuse his power. When you look around, you see people like President George Bush, plenty of power. But that does not mean that the president is a happy person. Not many people have that kind of power. He has military power. America has a mighty economy, army, and yet America suffers a lot and make other people like the Iraqis suffer a lot. The French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau said that even the people who have the greatest power always feel that they don't have enough power to do what they want. I don't think that President Bush can sleep well. How can you sleep well when your young people die every day, every night in Iraq? How can you avoid nightmare when thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people are dying because of your policy? It's very clear that if political leaders do not have a spiritual dimension in their life, they go misuse their power, abuse their power, and make themselves, their own country suffer, and other countries, other people suffer. In Buddhism, practitioners also cultivate power, but the power we cultivate is spiritual power. It will not make us suffer. It will not make the people around us suffer. The path, Tao. If we go advance on the path, we'll get the power, Pe, Tao and Pe. And the first kind of power we got is the power to release, to cut off, đoạn đứt. There are things we have to release, we have to cut off, like craving, hate, despair. If we don't release, cut off our craving, we suffer. Someone who is inhabited by the energy of craving is not peaceful, it's not happy. And therefore, to release your craving, to cut off your craving is very important for your own happiness, the happiness of your family and your society. Those who entertain hate suffers a lot. How could a person with hate be happy? So it's very important to learn how to release the hate and the violence. And that is why cultivating that kind of power is very essential to our happiness and the happiness of our own people. A spiritual practitioner should be free from craving, from hate, from violence, from anger. And then he or she will be happy. And as a happy person, she can help other people to do the same. The second kind of power is the power of understanding. Understanding is the fruit of looking deeply. When you have the time to sit down and to look deeply with concentration, and then you get the insight about yourself, about your suffering, about your happiness, about the suffering and happiness of the people around you. And with that kind of insight, you can undo the blocks of suffering within yourself, like fear, like despair, anger. And in the Buddhist teaching, the insight is something you get when you have the time to look deeply. In Buddhism, we speak of the insight of impermanence, the insight of no self, the insight of interbeing. Impermanence is not an idea, it's not a notion, but an insight. And you have to touch that reality of insight personally in order to have that kind of insight. But those of us who forget that things are impermanent, although intellectually we know, we realize, we agree that everything is impermanent. We forget that the person living with us will one day die or get sick. We don't remember that we ourselves sometime later have to die. We have the tendency to think that we will be there forever. Therefore, we do not have the insight in order to behave properly. I have witnessed the sight of people who cry speak about impermanence. The impermanence he spoke about is insight. It's not to complain about life, but to remind you that life is so precious, and you have to treasure every moment of life. Suppose we speak about another insight that Buddha wants us to cultivate, the insight of non-self. No self doesn't mean that you are not there. It means only that you are not a completely separate entity. Suppose a father looking at his son, he will see that his son is his continuation. When you plant a seed of corn in the damp soil, 10 days after you see a young plant of corn, you don't see the seed of corn anymore. And you may say that the seed of corn is no longer there. But that's not true. The seed of corn is still there in its new form, the plant of corn. The plant of corn is the continuation of the seed of corn. The Son is the continuation of the Father. And in every cell of the Son, there is the presence of the Father. So the Father and the Son are not exactly two persons. In Buddhism, we learn about the truth of the middle path, the middle way. When speaking about Father and Son, we talk in terms of no sameness, no otherness. The Father and the Son are not exactly one person, but they are not exactly two different persons. No sameness, no otherness. And if the Father look at his Son and see that nature of no sameness, no otherness, he will touch the nature of no self. If the Son suffers, the Father suffers, and vice versa. So getting angry at your Son is getting angry at yourself. Getting angry at your Father is to get angry at yourself. This is very clear. When my left arm has some pain in it because of rheumatism, of numbness and so on, I try to take care of my left arm, to massage it, to do everything in order to bring relief to my left arm. I do not get angry at my left arm. When I have a disciple who suffers, who is difficult, I try to practice like that. I do not get angry at him or at her. I try to take care of him or her like I take care of my own arm. Because getting angry at your son is not very intelligent. Getting angry at your student is not very intelligent. And that kind of behavior will not be possible before you get the insight of no self. When we take a shower, we have a chance to look into our body. And we may think of this body as something transmitted to us by our father and our mother. In Buddhism, when you speak of transmission, you speak of three elements. The transmitter, the object transmitted and the receiver of the transmission. But looking deeply, you see that you cannot separate the three things, the three elements. You cannot exist separately, that is no self. When we ask the question, what has my father transmitted to me? The answer comes after some meditation. My father has transmitted himself to me. Nothing less than himself. In every cell of my body, my father is fully present. The genes, the chromosome. So the transmitter and the transmitted are not exactly two different realities, entities. Again, no sameness, no otherness. So the transmitter and the object transmitted are like one, the oneness of transmitter and transmitted. And now we ask the second question, who is the receiver of the transmission of this body? Are you a different entity than the object transmitted? No, you are at the same time the object transmitted by your father. So meditation helps us to see things like that, to see things that people who do not meditate cannot see. And with that kind of insight, anger is no longer there in the person of the father, in the person of the son. There are young people who get very angry at their father and who can say things like this, that person, I don't want to have anything to do with him. Youngsters of our age can say like that. But how can you remove your father, your mother from yourself? You are your father. You are your mother. One day walking in the street of London, I saw a book in a window of a library. And the title of the book is My Mother, Myself. A book about psychotherapy. I did not buy the book because I knew what was in the book. The daughter is the continuation of the mother. The daughter is the mother. Getting angry at the mother is not very intelligent. So the insight of non-self, of no-self, is very helpful. That's not philosophy. That is not notions. That should be insight in order for you to behave in such a way that will not bring suffering to you and to the other person or persons. In Buddhism, there is a kind of wisdom called the wisdom of non-discrimination, nirvikalpa jnana. No discrimination. No discrimination is one of the elements of true love in Buddhism, upekkha. I used to write my poems with my right hand. I wrote every poem, all my poems with my right hand, except one. That day I did not have a pen, so I put an old envelope into a typewriter, and then I wrote with both hands. And I do most of the things with my right hand, brushing my teeth, inviting the bell to sound, doing calligraphy. But my hand is never proud of itself. It never told the left hand that you left hand, you are good for nothing. Everything I do by myself, same to you. And that is why my right hand and my left hand are always at peace with each other. They collaborate in a perfect way. And my left hand does not have any complex of inferiority. It never suffers. It's wonderful. And that is the wisdom of no self also, that is alive in us. One day I tried to drive a nail in order to hang a picture, and I was not very skillful that day. Instead of pounding on the nail, I pound on the finger. So my left hand got hurt. Right away I put down the hammer and took care of my left hand. And my right hand never said that, you left hand, do you know that I am taking good care of you? Did you remember that? And do the same when I get hurt? No, there's no such thinking. And my left hand did not say, right hand, you have done me injustice, you have made me suffer. Give me that hammer, I want justice. My left hand never said, never think like that. So what we call the wisdom of non-discrimination is there. And if we have that wisdom, we make use of that wisdom, and then there will be peace in our family, in our community. If Hindu and Muslim use the wisdom of non-discrimination, there will be peace. If Israeli and Palestinians realize the wisdom of non-discrimination, there will be no war. If Americans and Arabs see that they are brothers, they are two hands of the same body, they will not behave like they have. So that kind of insight we have to cultivate. And that is the second power, spiritual power, that we can realize and make us happy. And with that insight, we can undo our own fear, suffering, separation, loneliness, and it can help the other person and persons to undo the same kind of suffering. And that is the second spiritual power. And it can never be corrupted by that kind of power at all. Speaking of the third kind of power, we speak of love, compassion. And that kind of power has the capacity of accepting, of forgiving, of embracing the other person with loving kindness and compassion. When you have that power, you are happy. People who have no compassion and love and forgiveness, they suffer a lot. When you can forgive, when you can accept, when you can have compassion, you feel light. You can relate to other living beings. Without compassion, you are utterly alone. And that is why compassion is the ground of happiness. Cultivating compassion in order to forgive, to accept, to take care, to love, is the spiritual practice. And if our political leaders, our business leaders, have some of these powers, they will not misuse the other kind of powers, money, fame, position in society, in the government. They will not make themselves unhappy and other people unhappy. Let us enjoy our in-breath and out-breath. When we are well established in the present moment, we can get in touch with the wonderful, refreshing, and healing elements of life that are available in the present moment for our nourishment and healing. When we are really there in the present moment, we can realize that there are blocks of suffering within us and around us, and we know how to recognize them, embrace them, transform them, bring a relief. That is why the practice of going home to yourself, to oneself, in the present moment is very fundamental in the Buddhist practice. When you practice mindful breathing, breathing in, and bring all your attention to your in-breath, you bring your mind back to the present, to your body. And suddenly, you are there in the here and the now, ready to encounter life and all the wonders of life that are available in that moment. It needs only a few seconds in order to go home to yourself, to the here and the now, to encounter life. When you practice mindful walking, every step brings you home to the here and the now, so that you can touch the wonders of life in the here and the now. Many of us walk like sleepwalkers. We run. We have the habit of running to the future. We believe that happiness is not possible now and here. So we have the habit of running. We have run all our life. And maybe our parents have done the same. And they have transmitted the habit energy to us. So now the practice is to resist that kind of losing oneself into the future and learn how to live deeply every moment of your daily life. And the practice proposed by the Buddha can help us do so easily. There are tensions and pain within our body. We have worked our body too hard. We have accumulated a lot of tension and pain in our body. And the Buddha proposed exercises in order for us to bring relief, to relax our body, to take out the tension and the pain. In the Sutra of Mindful Breathing, the Buddha proposed 16 methods of mindful breathing. It's a wonderful practice. The third method, the third exercise is to go home to the body and recognize the presence of the body. Breathing in, I'm aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I smile to my whole body. And the fourth exercise is to release all the tensions in the body. Breathing out, breathing in, I release all tensions in my body. Breathing out, I smile to my body. The Buddha was aware that there is tension and pain within our body. And that exercise is very helpful in releasing the tensions in our body. And with the tension release, the pain also diminishes. Now there are doctors in the West who try to put into the practice that kind of teaching. There are institutes in which doctors and nurses are teaching patients to breathe and to relax, to release tensions. And it is the conclusion that when our body knows how to release the tension, how to relax, our body will have the capacity to heal itself. Of course, when we get sick, we need a doctor, and the prescription and the medicines. But if we know how to release the tension in our body, we don't need much medicine. Because by allowing our body to rest and to be relaxed, our body begins to have the capacity of healing itself. When an animal in the forest gets wounded, that animal knows how to rest. It looks for a quiet place and lie down for a few days, not thinking of eating, not thinking of running after another animal, until the wound is healed and the animal will stand up and continue. We humans in the past, we did have that kind of knowledge, of habit. But now we seem to have lost our capacity of resting. Even if we have a period of vacation, we don't know how to rest. And after vacation, we get more tired. That is why it's very important to put into the practice the teaching of the Buddha, learning how to be kind to our own body, to allow our body to relax. To reduce stress and tension is something that is always a practice within Buddhism. You can relax in a sitting position. You can relax in a lying position. You can relax in a walking meditation. In Plum Village, sometimes we practice walking together. Each day we walk together as a community. Sometimes many thousand people walk at the same time. And every step release the tension. Every step bring us to the here and the now, so that we can touch the wonders of life in the here and the now. And everyone is advised that if they need to move from one place to another place, they should apply the techniques of mindful walking. Even if the distance is only 1 or 2 meters, you still enjoy mindful, relaxing steps. So, practicing walking meditation, you learn the wonderful way of living in the present moment deeply. When you are free from tension, when you are free from the regret concern in the past and from the worries about the future, you can touch the kingdom of God or the Pure Land of the Buddha with every step you make. You can enjoy the Pure Land all day long, the kingdom of God all day long. Everything described in the Amrita Sutra. The beauty of the Pure Land is available right here and right now. Provided that you go home to the present moment and touch deeply the blue sky, the white cloud, the rain, the flowers, the stream of water, the song of the birds. These things exist only in the kingdom of God, in the Pure Land of the Buddha. They are available only to those who know how to touch the kingdom. In the Gospel, there is a story of a farmer who discovered a treasure in a field. And after that, he went home and sold everything in order to buy that piece of land that has the treasure. If we practice in such a way that help us to touch the kingdom of God, or the Pure Land of the Buddha in the here and the now, we don't need to run after money and fame anymore, and power anymore, like that farmer. So I have been urging church people to provide us with the kind of teaching and practice so that we can touch the kingdom of God, the Pure Land of Buddha right here, right now. So that we will not run anymore after fame, sex, money, and power. It is possible to enter the kingdom of God in here and now. To me, the kingdom of God is available always. The question that remains is that whether you are available to the kingdom. In the Buddhist teaching, it is said that Pure Land is in your heart. If you are free, if you are really established in the here and the now, you can touch the wonders of life that belong to the Pure Land. The French writer Thich said that God is happiness. Dieu est bonheur. And I like that. And he also said that God is available 24 hours a day. And I also agree with that. So if God is there, His kingdom is there. The problem is whether you are available to the kingdom and live the kingdom right in the here and the now. The same thing is true in Buddhism. The Pure Land is here and now. And if you do walking meditation properly, every step help you to touch the Pure Land with the Buddha. And even if you don't have a private car, a portable telephone, many of us don't. At the Ho Chi Minh Political Institute in Hanoi, I said that no one of us has a private car, a private telephone, a bank account. The true communists, that's us. And people laugh and laugh and laugh. They were not angry at all. And that is why in the beginning of the sharing, I said that maybe the most precious kind of power is the capacity to live happily in the present moment. And the Buddha did provide us with that teaching and the practice. Thank you for listening. If there is any remark or question, please don't hesitate to make.
The Zen Master is taking questions from the floor, so we'd like to ask the first question. Okay, I may ask the first question, Zen Master. What's your impression of Hong Kong and Hong Kong people? Am I really far from Pure Land or really close?
I'm very happy in the here and the now with this assembly. Very attentive, concentrated, smiling, wonderful.
Kate, welcome to ask questions. Or enlightened Master, so... Okay, we have a gentleman over there too. Please rise when
Okay. For the past few years, I experienced during meditation as being a light in the universe. And then I further investigate that. Everything is actually from light. And light is the foundation of all particles. And so this is the fundamental idea of all science, religious, and philosophy. Do you agree or not?
Light is made of non-light elements, like a flower. When you look into a flower, you see only non-flower elements. When you look at the flower deeply, you see a cloud. You know that if the cloud is not there, there will be no rain and no flower can grow. When you look at the flower, you see the sunshine, and you know that if there is no sunshine, no flower can grow. When you look at the flower, you can see the earth, the minerals, and a lot of things. Because if the earth is not there, the soil is not there, no flower can grow. So in the Buddhist insight, looking at one thing, like a flower, you see the whole cosmos. So I would like to say the same thing with light. Light cannot be a separate entity from the rest of the cosmos. And it is possible to look deeply into the nature of light and see the whole cosmos, the nature of interbeing. Those of us who meditate on other objects, like a leaf, like a pebble, and we can get to the same result. We see the all in the one. That is the nature of interbeing that we touch when we practice looking deeply. Thank you.
And yes, I saw the gentleman over there. When you ask, please stand.
My name is Joseph Chen. How can we not worry about the future when we have deadlines to meet?
We have the duty and the right to plan for the future. But it can be established firmly in the present moment in order to do so. The point is not to waste our energy to be afraid of the future, to worry about future, to be uncertain about future, that will ruin the future. So the idea is not to allow the worry and the fear to dominate us. The future will be made of only one substance, the present. And if we know how to take good care of the present moment with all our intelligence, our love, our compassion, that is about all we can do to assure a good future. Because the future is made only with the present moment. Thank you.
Yes, the gentleman over there.
What is your views on global warming? As a religious point of view, I guess.
Last November, when I spoke at the UNESCO, I proposed UNESCO organizing a global no-car day, because I believe that a global no-car day is a wonderful way to educate people on what is happening to our environment. We ourselves have begun to practice one no-car day a week in every monastery that we practice. We arranged so that on that day no one was will have to drive anywhere. Our monasteries in North America, in Europe, in Vietnam, we have announced a no-car day a year ago, more than a year ago. And when we announced that on our website, during the first 3 weeks, there were more than 4,000 people who committed themselves to practice the same thing. I think we need that kind of awakening, enlightenment. And talking about the danger is not enough. We have to really begin to do something in order to be able to invite other people to join in. So my remark is not an opinion about global warming, but a suggestion that each of us should try to do something concerning consumption of energy and allow other people around us to know so that they will be encouraged to do the same thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I will take the question from that gentleman and then.
Dear Thich, my name is Hans. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a guest in Hong Kong. And I would like to ask you to comment on the notion of progress. To give an example, last week I had a business meeting in Shenzhen, in the Chinese mainland. And when I walk in the street, people look at me due to my blonde hair and my beard. Look a bit alien to them, but also I see in their eyes something. They recognize the Western progress, the Western wealth. But at the same time, I look around in China, and I look around in the temples, and I look around in the culture. And also last year, I have visited Plum Village. And so when I look in the eyes of the Chinese people looking for progress, I see the hope of what they might gain for the Western culture. But at the same time, I realize that I have been searching for what we in the West have lost. So could you comment on what is progress and how do you see that?
The essential point is to be happy, to be really happy, and that is my view of real progress. What is the use of having more money, more benefit if you suffer more and you become the victim of your own success? If in a case you succeed, and in many cases you don't succeed in getting what you get. So I think we have to measure progress with the standard of true happiness. If you continue to run like that, you might get a lot of money, a lot of development. You might be called a superpower. But the people of your country might suffer very deeply. They don't have the time to take care of themselves. They don't have the time to take care of their beloved one. They don't have the time to love. And that is regrettable. So to me, if civilized society is a society where people have the time to live deeply their daily life and to love and take care of the people around, to begin with the people in our own family. And I think this is not something too complicated to understand. Parents, teachers, big brothers and big sisters have to tell us by their way of life, not only by words. And that is the duty of education, the work of the education. That should be a kind of enlightenment, awakening, collective enlightenment, collective awakening, in order for us to stop that crazy course after money and fame and power. Thank you.
Master, can our species, the human being, be happy knowing that it had inflicted so much harm to the planet Earth? And how can we reconcile with that?
We can reconcile with Mother Earth by practicing walking meditation. And every step we make is like to kiss the earth with our feet, with love, and with the promise that we will stop the course of destroying Mother Earth. If we continue this way, our civilization is going to be destroyed. No doubt about it, unless we change the course of behavior, the way of behavior. And that needs enlightenment, awakening. And in the case of the Buddha, that is individual awakening and enlightenment. We need a collective awakening, enlightenment, in order to stop this course of destruction. Civilization is going to an end if we continue like this competition in the direction of power, fame, sex, profit, destruction of the environment. One day, during meditation, I asked nature one question. In my mind, there was image of global warming, of tsunami, of weather change, and so on. And I asked nature this question: Nature, can we rely on you? I asked the question because I know that nature is intelligent and it knows how to react, sometimes violently, in order to re-establish balance. So with some anguish, I asked nature that question: Nature, we think that we can rely on you. And I hear the answer in the form of a question. Can I rely on you? The question is being put back to me. Can nature rely on man, on humans? And after long, deep breathing, I said, yes, you can mostly rely on me. And then I hear the answer, yes, you can also mostly rely on me. That is a very deep conversation I had with nature. Would like to share with you. That should not be a verbal declaration. That should be a deep commitment of everyone, so that nature can respond in kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'll take the young gentleman's question over there. The gentleman with white t-shirt first, and then with you. Thank you.
Master, you said we should love our family, but nowadays many teenagers, they hate their father, their mother, even themselves. And there are so many teenagers, they don't want to contact to other people. So what should we do about this problem?
We have accumulated a lot of tension, irritation in us. That is why fathers are not kind enough to sons and daughters, and vice versa. We have made each other suffer quite a lot. So the way is to realize that even if we have love for each other, that love is being covered up by a lot of irritation and anger, frustration. We have to look deeply in order to realize that the other person has suffered very deeply, so that we will have compassion toward him or her. When we suffer, we have the tendency to punish, because we think that the other person has dared to make us suffer so much. So we want to make him or her suffer, to punish. But when you punish someone, even by your silence, your non-collaboration, your stubbornness, let someone suffer even more, and trying to get a relief will make you suffer more as a punishment. So that is an escalation of suffering, of anger. That does not work. So the antidote is to be compassionate. Dear Father, you have suffered so much. You have had no chance to learn the way to undo your suffering, and you have spilled your suffering a little bit all over. But and I have not been able to help you, and I have made the situation worse. I have made you suffer more. So now I understand that you are a victim of your own suffering and my suffering also. I don't wish you to suffer. I wish you happiness. So please tell me of your suffering, your difficulties, so that I will not behave like I have. And thinking like that is right thinking, and speaking like that is a right speech. That make you feel better and make the other person, your father, your mother, in this case, feel better. And as we cultivate the insight of no self, we know that if the father suffers deeply, there is no way that the son or the daughter can be really happy. So trying to make the father suffer less is very important for oneself. The practice of compassionate listening and loving speech taught by the Buddha can help open the door of the heart of the other person, restore communication, and bring reconciliation between father and son, mother and daughter, and so on. We have offered so many retreats in Europe and in North America. And we have dispensed that kind of teaching and practice. And we have helped countless couples to reconcile. Husband and wife, father and son. It's very effective. So if you want, you can try the practice of releasing tension, of looking deeply to see the other person, that the other person has suffered so much. That you have compassion for him and you like to help him or her. And then using love and speech and deep listening, you can help him to suffer less, and re-establish communication. That is the only way. When father and mother make each other suffer, they make their children suffer also, and the children don't believe in the happiness of the family, so they try to go out and seek to forget, and they fall into the trap of drugs, sex, violence, gangs, and so on. Social evils come from the fact that there is no happiness in the family, that father and mother make each other suffer. So the practice of the Buddha should be used in order to restore communication, to bring reconciliation. That is the duty of the monks, the nuns, the lay practitioners, the teachers. Because social evils cannot be dealt only with control and punishment. Thank you.
Master, I agree very much. To be a daughter and son this day, I think we need to have more wisdom than our parents in order to communicate with them.
Those of us who have a chance to get in touch with the teaching and the practice should initiate the practice. I have disciples who are very young, who came to our retreats and who learned the art of releasing tensions, looking deeply, using loving speech and compassionate listening. And after the retreat, they came home and was able to reconcile with their father and the mother. I'm very proud of these young students, young disciples, even if they are only 16 or 17. So the practice is very effective, and the young people can initiate the change in the family.
Master, could you share with us, when you see world leaders or influential people, what are the main area that you would touch on, that you like the world leader to know or the influential people to know? Thank you.
There was a forum called State of the World Forum, organized by Mr. Gorbachev in San Francisco. He invited head of states and scholars, scientists, and so on to come. I was invited also to speak to that audience, and I spoke about the practice of the 5 mindfulness trainings. The first is about practicing, cultivating compassion, protecting life. The second is promoting social justice, the practice of generosity, of giving our time, sharing our time, energy, and material resources for the poor people. The third is about appropriate sexual behavior. The fourth is about deep listening and loving speech. And the fifth is about mindful consumption, so that the earth will have a future. And I have proposed the 5 mindfulness trainings, 5 precepts as the way out for the world. And working with Nobel Peace Prize winners, I have also proposed the 5 trainings. And together we have drafted a manifesto called Manifesto 2000, consisting of 6 points. And they are very much identical to the 5 precepts. And when UNESCO circulated that, 75 million people, including chief of state, have signed that. They recognize the values of the practice of compassion and love. The only thing is that they do not have a chance and a environment to practice. So to sign a document is not enough. To receive formally the 5 trainings is not enough. You have to organize yourself as a community, a sangha, a group of people, in order to study and to put into the practice. I think in the context of an university, we can organize so that students have a chance to practice as groups, spirituality as a group. Faculty members can practice as a sangha. If we have only sharing like this is not enough. We have to got daily practice, weekly practice, daily sitting, daily walking, weekly session for sharing, and try to put the insight into daily practice. For instance, in the beginning of each class, we might devote a few minutes for total relaxation, mindful breathing, to get calm. Both the teacher and the students may profit a few minutes in order to sit quietly, to release the tension with someone that knows the practice, that can help everyone to practice. And that will not take away the time for the studies, that will promote, that will help professor to teach better and students to learn better. There are students who are so stressful they can no longer learn. So it's very important to bring the practice of spirituality in the classroom. And it's my proposal that every teacher, every professor knows how to practice releasing the tension in the body, how to deal with strong emotions, so that they could teach the students to do the same. There are so many young people who commit suicide because they don't know how to handle their emotions. And they think that the only way to stop the suffering is to go and kill themselves, to jump from high floor. But if they know that emotion is just a tiny part of our person, an emotion that is something that comes and stays for some time and go, and why do we have to die because of one emotion? So learning how to deal with the emotion is something we can learn. And when we are successful in dealing with one emotion, we have confidence. Next time when the emotion comes like a storm, we know how to handle it. And we can help the young people, transmit to them the techniques so that when they have a strong emotion, they will know how to handle that emotion. They don't have to go and kill themselves. So these things are doable. And I hope in national education we can bring this spiritual practice this practice into our daily life and help everyone to release the tension, to take care of themselves. We are so busy getting knowledge, diplomas, jobs, money, but we do not have the time to take care of ourselves. So it's very important to go back and take care of ourselves, all of us, students, our teachers.
Thank you. Zen Master, many professors at this university doing meditation every day, so I hope we'll do that. Thank you very much. Before the conclusion of today's Dhamma talk, may I invite Director of Center of Buddhist Study, the University of Hong Kong, Venerable Dr. Jing Yin, to say a few words. Dr. Jing Yin, please.
Actually, before I walk into the stage, I look at this banner talking about the true power, but still with silver flavor. So, I mean, the power has such a magic power. So that's why everybody works very hard for it. You know, gradually I realized more power means more job. More power means more responsibility. More power means really more trouble. And more power means more pressure. Actually, not really benefit for myself or for all of you. You know, that's why we're headache. That's why most of us here, you know, want to seek for the happiness. So now gradually understand that secular power only can guarantee our survival, but the spiritual power taught by the Thai, you know, could make us happy. But I think such a spiritual power is too abstract. It's invisible. So although the Thai, you teach us to live at the present moment, don't dream about the future. So still I have one dream, you know. I do hope Thai could come back again next year to remind us, you know, about the so-called the true power, yeah. And what is more, and we are trying to educate our professors, you know, to do meditation, but without your presence, I'm not sure whether they will follow your instruction. So even I think like a true power could be at the course title, and to open the course, you start from Hong Kong U. So if most of us here agree to come to join the course, at least we have over 100 students. For that cause, you know, it is a true power. So I do hope, you know, Thai could come next year as well, and even could open a course here. And course title is the true power. Thank you so much, Thai, for your very inspiring talk. And we are all now gradually understand what is the true meaning of the power. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We hope we'll develop our own Plum Village in Hong Kong very soon. To show our deepest appreciation, may I invite Mr. H.S. John of Jiming Buddhist Center, accompanied by Professor C.F. Lee, to present a souvenir to Thai, to Master Thich Nhat Hanh. May Dr. Jing please join them.